Hey, it's Dr. Cherokee. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some interview tips on how to land that remote pharmacy job, specifically in managed care. So stay tuned. So, tip number one, don't repeat your resume. So I know that's obvious, but a lot of times when you're getting asked questions in the interviews, you have it's an instinct to go ahead and say, yes, I graduated from so-and-so, and I did this kind of rotation and all this stuff. But they know that already. They've seen your resume. Give them something new. They wouldn't be having an interview with you if they didn't already like what you wrote down. So be open and think about more things that you can say. Second point as well, be a person, be you. I mean, these jobs are already remote. The people that hire you want to know that they are working with a person, not a robot, someone that can have fun, someone that, will chat back in the chats when they talk, someone that's responsive. So be yourself. When they ask you that question, tell me about yourself. Do not repeat your resume, as I've said, but go ahead and tell them things that you like to do for fun. Things that are not pharmacy related. Tell them about your family. Just give them a sense of who you are as a person. And that's the start. Because remember, the people that are interviewing you are just people. They're just people, so there's no need to be afraid. Relax. Another tip that I have is at the end, but I'll just say it now. Smile and laugh. It's an interview. You don't have to be all serious. Especially if it's on via Zoom or some other kind of web-based platform where you're doing the interview, your face can come across as sullen, or I know you're trying to be serious and whatever, but it can come across as sullen. And again, that communicates not a fun person to work with, so smile. Even if you have to make yourself smile sometimes, just smile because it looks better on the camera. Laugh. If you're usually a jokester, make a joke, like not inappropriate. Please don't be inappropriate, but make a joke, be yourself. That's really important for these kinds of interviews to start off, be a person. Another tip for how to enter some of the interview questions would be tell stories. So a lot of times they'll ask you, tell me about a time when, or can you tell me a situation when this happened and what did you do? Be ready to tell a story. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Some people say that they don't want to rehearse, but honestly, go ahead and find on Google like common interview questions for pharmacy positions or remote positions or whatever, and have a story ready. Have something from your life. You can take it from residency, you can take it from other pharmacy related jobs or other legitimate jobs that you've had. I don't know if clubs is really appropriate, but I'm sure you have a lot of material from the 4th year of pharmacy school to go off of. Or if you are a pharmacist that has worked in other pharmacy areas or other MTM or pharmacy jobs, or in the field, managed care, go ahead and talk about those things. Glean from those experiences and use those in your story. And make sure that your story has a solution and highlight what you did. Don't go talking about how, my coworker did this and then I helped that. Talk about the part that you helped with. Be specific. And make sure your story is not long. It answers the question, it's succinct, but it doesn't go on and on and on because they will lose focus. Some of the kinds of questions they could ask where you would need to do this, like, think of the STAR method, or there's some other methods, but where you would need to kind of have your story ready would be, tell me about a time where you had a disagreement with a coworker. What happened? That is an invitation to tell a story from the beginning, the middle, the end, with the solution in there and what you did, your contribution to it. Another thing they could ask you is about, has there ever been a time where you underperformed or didn't meet productivity? What did you do in that case? And this could obviously be a story about redemption, how you got the better of it, etc. They could ask you, have you ever dealt with a boss or a supervisor that was difficult to deal with? What did you do in that situation? And another one, which I think they really like, is what's the time that you ever got feedback that was difficult to hear, and how did you go about that, and what did you do with it? So there are a lot more questions you can ask, but again, What they're looking for is your contribution to how you solve this problem. Another thing to highlight during your interview, and again, they may not ask this straight out, but you need to incorporate that into your stories. You need to mention it about yourself, maybe in your about me, but especially with remote jobs, languages, and that you're able to communicate. So if you speak another language, you better put that on your resume, and that better be something you say. That is an incredibly important skill set to have. Spanish speakers, I'm in America. Spanish speakers are really valuable to companies, especially if you're doing MTM or something where you're on the phone. Languages are beautiful. But communication. So if you were in residency or in your internship in your 4th year, and you had a time where you did have to, do presentations, or you did have to make phone calls about adherence calls when you were in your community rotation, or you did MTM calls before, or anything where you had to communicate, or maybe you did rounds and you gave, whatever it is, make sure that you highlight some of those qualities in your answers, because as a remote person, communication is key. They can't see you, they can't come to your cubicle and tap you on the shoulder. They need to know that you're comfortable with communicating to them and to patients or members or whoever you need to speak with. So that's important. Something that you should always do is ask questions. So they always say, the interview was both-sided. We want to know about you, but you're interviewing us as well. Take that serious. When there's that part that you need to ask questions, go ahead and ask. Some questions that you can ask are, does your company require that you need extra licenses in different states? Or are there any incentives and things to get that if you have more or you want to get more while we're here? That's a great question to ask, especially in managed care. There's a lot of times where you will be asked to get a license, or will be strongly urged that this be a goal for you this year. So asking about licenses kind of gives you a leg up in the fact that it shows that you know a little bit more about this field and what's required, what may be needed of you, and you're taking initiative. So definitely ask about licenses. Ask how they do productivity. So a lot of different departments have different products or things that they're doing in their department, but everyone has some kind of form of productivity or how they show that you are doing or efficient with your work. And so it's good to ask in a way that doesn't seem like you want to figure out how to do the least amount of work, but ask in a way to see, how do they manage productivity? Is it case by case by case? Is it phone call by phone call, successful phone call versus, other just making phone calls, or successful cases versus making cases, or is it task-based? Is it minute-by-minute based? There's just so many different ways you can assess productivity, and that's honestly a good thing for you to know going in, so you can see if that's a good fit for you. And there are a ton of other questions you can ask. What do you look for in a worker in this field, etc. And at the end, when they ask you to okay, that's it, go ahead and give your last pitch. Now, there are so many YouTubes and things about how to interview, and they talk about the last pitch. Go ahead and look those up. It's always a good idea to practice. Do not feel like you're gonna go in there super rehearsed and nobody's gonna like it. They prefer that you practice, okay? They don't want you to ramble on and talk about things that are irrelevant. So go ahead and make sure that you do the due diligence, you practice, and you learn how to do your last and final pitch. This helped me a lot with my interview. Some of these interviews can be, and I've had it many ways, they can be in person. Maybe you still go in person to the job, and then it's still remote, so you get all your stuff mailed to you and you do it at home, and that's the only time you ever see them. But also, there could be, I had to do where they gave me prompts to like 6 questions or scenarios, and they wanted me to record a 1 to 2 to 3 minute video answering the question. You better rehearse those answers, okay? And use all the tips that we talked about. But that could be in there. That could be a way to do your interview. And then from there, they will then go to the next round and get your interview. So It's crucial that you put all the stuff about your languages, how you communicate, their stories, smile. All that stuff is so important for those because it gets you to the next step. And the other thing could be, just doing the interview. A lot of times it'll be 30 minutes with this person, 30 minutes with that person, 30 minutes with this person. Sometimes you're on the Zoom and there's 3 other boxes. Either way, all of these tips work equally well with all of those things. So I just wanted to put that out there, that you could look forward to many rounds for remote jobs, and then also more than one in different formats. The bonus tip that I'll give that has been great for me with all my interviews that I've ever had would be send a follow-up email. So back in the day, when you used to do all your interviews in person, I would literally carry around thank you note cards. Yes, I go to Target or wherever and I got thank you note cards. And what I would put on there is, the name of the interviewer. And with your interviews, you will have more than one person interviewing you. But I put their names on there, or I got one for each interviewer. I put their name on there. I'd say thank you so much for the interview, and I'd say something specific that we talked about, because during your interview it's going to be a back and forth thing. You'll build some rapport, they'll share something about themselves. Remember that. Put that in your thank you note. And thank you so much for your time. I hope to be seeing you, working with you soon. And then you sign it. I would put it right back in the envelope, and then I'd make my way back into the room or the office or something, and I'd leave it with, the receptionist, or if I could leave it on the table with them, that's what I do. Nowadays, with remote jobs, everything is on Zoom, and your person interviewing you could be in a whole other state. I send emails, so I make sure that whoever is actually interviewing me, which is usually your supervisor, another supervisor, like on their team somewhere, and then a higher up of their supervisor, go ahead and get everyone's email and just make sure you have it, and then send individual emails with the same thing. Thank you so much for the interview. I really enjoyed that we connected on this, or that we got to talk about this topic. Looking forward to seeing you and speaking with you in the future. Sincerely, your name. That kind of helps you stand out, because as much as there are hundreds of applications for one position, there are maybe 10 interviews for that one place too, and you want to do everything you can to stand out. So that would be a great thing, and that's my little bonus tip. So yes, this has been interview tips to help you land that remote pharmacy jobs. They are out there, especially in managed care. So keep looking, use your network. We talked about some of the ways of how to get interviews in another video. I think I'm gonna post that one before this one, so look somewhere here. But those are the tips that I have for you today. Thank you so much. Make sure you leave a comment below if any of these tips were helpful to you, or if you have even more questions, or if any of them were helpful for you. If you happen to get a job, or you use these tips and you get the job, please come back and tell me. Like, I'm here and I want to hear those things, so that can be helpful to you. But thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you soon. It's Dr. Cherokee.